Hello, everyone. Welcome to the MeanGene Show, streaming live here on Podbean, getting you ready for the second round of the NBA playoffs. Oh, my goodness, it's moving, it's flying by. So we want to make sure we get you all caught up here. When I say we, my co-host is going to join me here shortly, and I'm talking about Dustin Phifer from Ballys Sports Southeast, covers the Carolina Panthers and the Charlotte Hornets of the NBA. All right. Well, hey, folks, I'm fresh back from Vegas and the NBA, the NFL draft. So I tell you what, it was just really tough trying to do double duties. And me and Dustin decided, well, you know what, the draft just took up so much of my time. We decided we would go ahead and do a separate NBA show because, man, there's just so much to talk about. And I see Dustin is there. All we got to do is just bring him on here, and then we will get the show going. So, all right, a couple of games tonight. We'll talk about those in the NBA. And, of course, tomorrow night we'll talk about the injuries. We'll talk about the final 8 teams and how they got here. That's going to be very important there as we move forward with these playoffs. So have you seen any surprises? Has anything caught your attention? Have you been shocked? Great series there between Memphis and the Timberwolves, but man, in the end, we knew that the Timberwolves may not have been ready for prime time there. So that is something that me and Dustin will be talking about here in a little bit. And see, he's trying to get in here. As soon as we can bring him on, we will continue on here. But also, teams like Minnesota, give them time. Just a lot of immaturity on the part of Karl Anthony Towns, a couple of the other players. Actually, the one player that we thought would really act up in that series had a great series, and that was Patrick Beverley. But other than that, um, like I said, we knew that the Minnesota Timberwolves were going to be eliminated there. So we see Dustin. We just need to bring him in here. So let's see. Up, that is going to be my fault. I see him there. And okay, Dustin, I see you there. And now I just need to. Dustin, are you there?
Hey, Gene, how you doing?
Hey, I'm here, man. Great. Hey, technology.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna let you slide just because you're coming back from Vegas. You're trying to get back on things. I was right there calling in, just waiting for you to hit accept. But I know you still got that kind of that Vegas NFL draft kind of wore you out a little bit. So I'm gonna let you slide.
Man, Dustin, thank you so much because I was.
And the birthday. I mean, come on, you had the birthday, the draft, and Vegas all in one. So you definitely get a pass.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dustin, because I was just pleading to the audience, the listeners, and I don't know if they was buying it, but the fact that you came in and co-signed, we good now.
Hey, listen, I can always remember your birthday because it's the same as my wife's. So, like I said, if I can give her a pass, I'll give you a pass too.
I
So.
saw that, and I said, "Oh my goodness, he never told me that."
That's right.
Happy belated birthday!
I appreciate that. So while you're out there living it up in Vegas, I couldn't make it out there with you. I got to be here at least celebrating with the wife. So, but it was all a good time. I'm glad you had a good time in Vegas. It was a fun NFL draft, and I'm sure we'll do a show on that here a little bit down the road. But like you said, a lot going on with that, and now the NBA playoffs. So it's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, because Dustin, I'm going to tell you, man, and I know we got a short period of time here, and good thing we only got 8 teams to talk about here, but I will say that it was even tough watching NBA playoff games while I was in Vegas. I'm just not the world's greatest multitasker because the NFL draft was very, very. It just had my schedule busy and everything. But hey, we are going to get on here, man, and talk about the second round of the NBA. But it sounds better when you say the conference semifinals. Am I right?
That's right. That semifinals makes it seem more real, and it makes it seem like we're getting deep into these playoffs. And so, I mean, it's going to be a lot of good series now with a lot on the line. And I think these teams know once they get to this round that they really have a chance to make that deep run.
Yeah, and let's just quickly talk about how we got here as far as the teams that we're dealing with. So we have the series. Let's start with the West. I always start with the East. We're going to start with the West. We got the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns. That series that'll kick off tonight. Game one is going to be tonight. The Phoenix Suns defeated the New Orleans Pelicans 4-2, and the Dallas Mavericks upended the Utah Jazz 4-2 to get to the conference semifinals. Dustin, I just got to ask you, well, what did you think about the both of those series were interesting because we didn't know if Devin Booker was going to come back, and it looked like New Orleans were going to take them all the way to 7. They did 6, and then with Dallas and Utah, it's just once again the Utah Jazz cannot get over the hump.
Yeah, I think we both said, especially with that Utah and Dallas series. I think at the start of it, we were both saying that if Luka was healthy, we both kind of liked the Mavs, but we really didn't know. And we kind of saw how that series started, where Dallas was able to steal a game, and then Luka came back and was being Luka. And like you said, Utah, for whatever reason, they just can't get over that hump. They had the chances at home, and whatever it is, I don't know if it's chemistry, if it's just lack of plays down the stretch, but they can't get it done. And that's a very good series win for that Dallas Mavericks team. And I think they're dangerous going forward. And that, like you said, with the Suns, we didn't expect Booker really to come back. He makes his return in Game 6, and even in that game, the Pelicans were right there to kind of push it to 7. But what a game by Chris Paul to close out that series, to have 33 points on 14 of 14 shooting, the only player in playoff history to shoot perfect from the field like that with a certain amount of attempts. So that's what big teams do, and they step up even when they know that series is getting close. And Phoenix knew that they needed to close it out because everybody else was wrapping it up, and they did that. So now we've got our eyes set on a really good series when you talk about Phoenix and Dallas. And I don't know how you feel, Gene. I'll let you get your thoughts on it, but I'm going to keep saying it, that this Dallas team is a scary team to watch, especially going forward in these playoffs.
I agree with you because they held their own without the services of Luka Doncic. Thanks to Bronson, thanks to Finney Smith, a lot of supporting cast kept it going. And how about Jason Kidd doing a hell of a job coaching this
Yes.
team? And this series is really going to be great. Can't wait till we make our selections here as far as who's going to get out of the conference semis and get to the conference finals. And the next series, the Golden State Warriors, they defeated the Denver Nuggets 4-1, and it was the Memphis Grizzlies outlasting the Minnesota Timberwolves, which I know you're about to give me a hard time about. They beat they beat them 4-2, and just a crazy series. Let's start with that Memphis Minnesota series. Of course, I picked the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I just thought there were times that they could have played better, and I just don't know if they are mature enough in these playoffs to be that serious of a threat. But Memphis, oh my goodness. How many highlight films can we get from Ja Morant in a single game?
Well, let me tell you, I mean, this coming from a guy, as you know, you say it every time I come on the show. I work for Ballys Sports Southeast covering the Hornets. Well, the Memphis Grizzlies are another team within our footprint in Ballys Sports Southeast. So I kind of get to see them a good bit. I kind of get to see the other guys that work with Memphis, and they talk about the views. We talk about with the Hornets with myself and LaMelo and the views that he brings, but the views that Ja Morant brings for them and for Ballys Sports Southeast and for the whole NBA is just amazing. And that dunk that he had in the playoffs,
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
that's got to go down as maybe we're talking top 5, top 10 dunk in a playoff game of all time. The way he elevated, and it's just, you can see that he has it. He took that next step here. He won Most Improved Player, and he's taken himself to superstar level. And you can see it down the stretch of these games. He wants the ball. He wants to make the play. And, that's the difference in the series. And I'm not going to give you too much of a hard time because I think Minnesota really did hold their own. They're a 7 seed going against a 2 seed. That was a really good matchup. And Minnesota showed some bright spots. They showed they've got something to build on with Karl Anthony Towns. I think Anthony Edwards was the biggest thing that you can take away from that series, that he's going to be an absolute superstar. So if you can keep that team together with Kat and with Anthony Edwards, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with D'Angelo Russell, because he had a really bad playoffs to where they weren't even putting him on the floor late in games. And he makes a lot of money. So there's some things that needs to be adjusted there with that Minnesota team. But like you said, with a young team, the first step is making the playoffs and getting that experience. Now they'll be expected to continue to build on that and try to win a playoff series.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think D'Angelo Russell did play his last game there for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is shopped around either after the draft or before the NBA draft, because certainly he had comments and opinions on his benching late there in that game. But yeah, the Memphis Grizzlies, say what you will, the highlights for John Moran are so anticipated now that I'm standing in front of my TV with my camera trying to catch it, so I can have a piece of it. But anyway, so Memphis does advance to the conference semifinals, and now they are playing the Golden State Warriors. We'll break that down here shortly. Moving over to the East, you have the Milwaukee Bucks in the Chicago series there. Milwaukee advances they beat them 4-1, and now you also have the Boston Celtics in the Brooklyn series, which the Boston Celtics swept the Brooklyn Nets and to advance to the conference semifinals. What do you think about the sweep?
Now that's the one I might give you a little bit of a hard time on there, Gene, because even with the Nets down 2-0, you said you thought they could, mount a comeback with those home games. And I'll say it first that I didn't expect them to get swept. I did think they would at least get a game at home and make this series interesting. But man, I'm telling you, talk about, we can't even say disappointment with Minnesota because they're a young team just getting in. But with this team, I know Brooklyn was a 7 seed, and I know you don't expect much from them. But when you have guys like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, you're expected to make some noise in the playoffs. And just think about it, Gene, that's the only team in the entire playoffs that got swept. It wasn't like there was a couple other sweeps out there. They're the only team that got swept in the playoffs. And I'm just telling you, that was a shock to me. And I mean, Boston showed that they were the better team from top to bottom. And it's a lot of eye opening going on in Brooklyn going into this offseason because you have these two guys again. You're expected to come right back and be a championship contender again. So we'll see what kind of moves they make and what kind of I honestly have to say it, what kind of effort, especially when it comes to Kyrie Irving, of being there 100%, not just being in and out. There's a lot of stuff you got to take a look in the mirror to get that Brooklyn team back for next year.
Yeah, and I will admit defeat here. And I tell you what, it went from, surprise and shock to just utterly disappointment, Dustin, because, to me, there's just no way a team with that much talent, a team with that much depth and leadership to get swept by the Boston Celtics or it was just embarrassing. So I do expect major changes out of the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know if we're going to see a change in personnel. I think there could be a change in coaching, which, because this team, Dustin, we talked about it, they don't really want to be coached. So Steve Nash is just there, I guess, as a, just, I don't know, a sideshow. But I'm sure we're going to be talking about that a whole lot more before the season.
Yeah, we definitely will. And I think there are some questions about Steve Nash and his experience. I think he does have to get one more year. One thing you will have to say is, Steve Nash didn't get to coach a full team for a full season. So he did have a lot thrown at him with his star player missing half the season, being in and out. Then Kevin Durant got hurt. So, hopefully they can get back. Kevin Durant stays healthy. Kyrie Irving is ready to go for a full season and maybe make one run at it. But you're right. If things start out bad to start next year, then Steve Nash, his seat will be getting warm.
Absolutely. And then the other matchup we have in the East, it was the Miami Heat defeating the Atlanta Hawks in their series 4-1. So Miami advances. And then we had the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Toronto Raptors. Philadelphia wins that series 4-2. So now we have a Miami and Philly matchup. And what did you? Going back to Atlanta? So does Nate? Nothing has happened to Nate McMillan at this point in time, but does Nate keep that job there?
I think he does. I think he has enough credibility. He took that team to the Eastern Conference Finals, taking over halfway through the season. Yes, they didn't have the season they wanted to this year, especially you don't come off the Eastern Conference Finals and expect to lose in the first round. So that's definitely a disappointing year. But, you got Trae Young entrenched there. They locked up John Collins. So the biggest thing for them is just to make sure those guys are healthy. Collins missed a lot of games. You had Capella miss some late down the stretch. So, really, I think they just need to keep building that team and go one more year. But I see McMillan hanging around. I think he's done enough to keep that job for at least another year.
I agree with you on that one too, Dustin. So let's just stay right here in this conference semifinals matchup over in the East, because tonight, game one, we will see the Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers. And Dustin, I have to say, Miami seems like a team that's on a mission. They're well coached, experienced coach, great players on this team with the acquisitions of PJ Tucker and Kyle Lowry. And of course, you got the usual suspects there. You got Duncan Robinson, you got Tyler Hero, you got Jimmy Buckets, and Bam Adebayo. And on the Philly side of this thing, Philly will be without the services of Joel Embiid. He's out due to that orbital injury. So, Dustin, what do you think of this matchup here?
Well, first, let me just say, Gene, and I think you'll agree with me here. Like, it really just shows, like you said, it's not just about. Sometimes it is about players. You got to have star players in the NBA. We know that, but it also is about the culture of an organization. And just think about Miami. They're sitting there. I know they had a 3-1 lead, so they had the flexibility to do it. But they didn't have Kyle. They rested Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler, who were dealing with nagging injuries, in in a closeout game in the playoffs, and they still were able to go out there and take care of business. You don't see many teams that have built that culture with coaching and top to bottom, where you can go and just have guys out and still operate on a normal basis, especially with it being your top two guys. I think arguably that's their two best players in Lowry and Butler, and they still were able to eliminate the Hawks. So they've got it all rolling. They're the 1 seed. They got home court. I was really looking forward to this series, Gene. So it really sucks to see that Embiid, is going to be out those first couple of games. I'm hoping he can get back and still, be a part of this series and make an impact, because without him, Gene, I don't see the 76ers having a lot to do in this series. It's going to be tough. It was already going to be tough with Miami being one of the
Mm-hmm.
best defensive teams in the league. But now when you put all this pressure on Harden, and we've talked
Mm-hmm.
about it on many shows before, I just don't think he's the same James Harden. He's not the Harden from Brooklyn last year. He's not the Harden from Houston. It looks like he's lost a step.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about guys like you just said it, PJ Tucker, Jimmy Butler, those guys are who's going to be guarding him. And if they take him out of the game, then you're putting even more pressure on a Tobias Harris, a Tyrese Maxey to make some plays. And I just don't think they have enough to get it done without Embiid down low. So I'm going to take the Heat. I think just with Embiid being, even when he comes back, he's probably not going to be 100%. You talked about the orbital injury, but he's also got ligament damage in his thumb, so he's
Yeah,
really
that's
beat up
right.
right now. So I think he's tough to where he may get back and try to make an impact for his team, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. And it's disappointing for the Sixers, because when you have an MVP candidate like Embiid, if he's 100%, you got a chance. But
Mhm.
without that, I just think Miami takes this series.
I have to agree with you on that, especially with the things you said about Miami. Man, this team. There was that one little incident that took place near the end of the season where you
Mm-hmm.
saw Jimmy Butler and Udonis Haslam and Coach Spoelstra, but man, they worked that out quick, and look where they are now. This team is steamrolling. No injuries that I know of, major injuries anyway, but this team is steamrolling now with Philadelphia. Dustin, I will go as far as even to say, even with Joel Embiid, and because of those extra injuries that you just mentioned, that this still would probably be a Miami win in this series, because you just putting unbelievable pressures on Joel Embiid. Now, Harden has showed, some success in games, but Joel Embiid, when he's out there, man, he's been giving it his all.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think in this series, even with him on the court, I just think he probably would have ran out of gas. So I agree. I got Miami moving on in this series.
Yeah, and we'll see how they handle the pressure, because honestly, with them beat out, obviously Miami was going to be a slight favorite anyways, but now they become a big favorite.
A
So
big favorite.
I mean, it's set up perfectly for Miami, where you don't see Boston or Miami or Milwaukee till the conference finals. So this is set up perfectly for you to make that deep run again. So there will be a little pressure on Miami to have home court, to be the favorite team, to go out there and handle business. But like you said, with that culture, with that defense, that's the thing. They can stay in a lot of games even when they don't score a lot of points, because they have a good defense. I think they got enough to move on and go to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, absolutely, folks. Once again, you're listening to the MeanGene Show. We're streaming live here on Podbean and no iHeartRadio today. So this is live action. And if you listen to the beginning of the show, you knew it was live because we struggled to get my man Dustin Phifer on, but we steamrolling now, folks, as we're talking about the second round of the NBA playoffs here. And moving over to the West, in the conference final semi matchup between the Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks. That both of these games will be on TNT tonight. Miami Philly is on TNT, and then you also have Game One of the Phoenix and Dallas series is on TNT tonight. So, Dustin, what do you think about this Phoenix Dallas matchup?
Yeah, what a series this is going to be. It's good to see that Devin Booker is back healthy for the Suns. They've got their full cast. You always want these teams to have their full cast of guys, so we can really see who the best of the best is. And so it's good to have him back. Good to have Luka back. And man, just what a matchup of, like you said, it's kind of like you're looking at star players. You're kind of talking Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and Luka Doncic. But then it's like, who of these next tier guys are going to step up? That's the key in my eyes. We know Luka's going to get his. Booker and Chris Paul are going to do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the Mavs, you mentioned it: Jalen Brunson, Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, those guys are the guys that have to step up and really help produce. Reggie Bullock's playing 40 minutes a night on the defensive end and knocking down some threes. Like, those second tier guys are what can be the difference in this series. And for Phoenix, you're talking about guys like DeAndre Ayton. You're talking about Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder. It's those guys, those role players who are going to support the stars that you need to make a difference. And I tell you what, I think it's it's obviously going to be a 6 or 7 game series in my eyes. But for some reason, Gene, I'm bullish on this Mavericks team, and I'm bullish on what Luka can do. And I think Luka is gonna have, like, we're talking like maybe an all-time series. I think that's how good he's gonna be. And I'm gonna take the Mavs to get an upset. I'm gonna say
Wow.
6 games because that means the Mavs will do it on their home floor. But I'm gonna take the Mavs to steal one of these games here at home and then go home and take care of the home court. And I'm gonna take the Mavs in 6 in an upset.
Oh wow. Okay, Dustin. I hear you, man. Let's look at you.
I'm going on a limb here.
Be bold this Monday. You sound
That's
like
right.
me in that first round.
That's right. I'm
When
going
I had
bold.
go bold, man. Well, I tell you what, I like the Phoenix Suns in this series because hey, they got Devin Booker back. Chris Paul is, man, this team has been on a mission since getting beat by the Milwaukee Bucks last year, and they came out with won a franchise. I think it was a franchise best 60-something
Yes.
wins
Mm-hmm.
this season. So I know that this team is focused, and I think that they're going to be on all cylinders, and I think they will. I think this series, I do agree that it will be an extended series. I think Dallas is going to challenge them. They're going to have their hands full with Luka and Bronson and Dinwiddie, just a whole different team than even what they've seen early on in the regular season. But I like Phoenix to take this series and get on to the conference finals. Moving on down to what is probably going to be the most anticipated series in the NBA playoffs, I would say, because we all saw it coming, right? And that was the Golden State Warriors matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies. They already have Game 1 is already in the books,
And
Dustin.
what a game it was.
What a game it was. Just a classic game. So Golden State already got that win, that much needed win. As a matter of fact, they stole home court. Am I correct?
They did. They did
Yeah.
with a 1 point win. Ja Morant misses a
Mm.
tough layup at the buzzer that could have won the game, and
Hmm.
Golden State steals game 1, where Draymond got ejected for a flagrant foul too. So Golden State was playing half that game without Draymond, and they were able to steal a game on the road.
Well, I'm just going to go out and say that I like Golden State to win this series. As a matter of fact, I am going to try to either make this series maybe next Thursday when it's back in Memphis, or I'm going to catch Dallas and Phoenix. I said whichever one was closer to my doorstep, and obviously Dallas is. But this is the sexy series here
Yeah.
between Golden State and Memphis, and I like Golden State to advance to the conference finals.
Yeah, I like Golden State too, and I like them before the game yesterday. Obviously, them still in game 1 helps to still on the road. I do think it's going to be a competitive series just because of how hard Memphis plays. We saw that yesterday. It was a 1 point game. I do think Memphis will probably bounce back and win game 2. So I do like it being a close series. I do like it going, 6 or 7 games. I think all these series are really going to be drawn out series. They're just that good. Maybe Miami won't be because of the injury to Embiid, but these series just will be really good. But like I said, it's kind of like we talked about with the Timberwolves, Gene. It's one of those things where teams have to take steps, and the Grizzlies did that. Last year they made the play in. This year they made the playoffs as a 2 seed. That's a big jump. So they made a huge jump, and then not only did they make that big jump in seeding, but they won a playoff series. But now is when you get to that and you say, all right, now can that team take the next step? And I think that's where you're going against a championship experience team like Golden State. Now I think is where they run into a buzzsaw. Golden State has that experience. We saw how they were able to close that game late yesterday. And I think Golden State gets the win. And that's not a knock on Memphis or saying they had a disappointing season, because you get a 2 seed in the West and win a series. You're really talking about an impressive season. And I think this is where, again, it's all about levels. They did that. So now next year, they are going to, instead of being that surprise team that jumps up to a 2 seed, they're going to be one of the hunted teams because they were one of the top seeds. So now how do they handle that? And can they take that next step of maybe making it to a conference finals with a star like John Morant? So that's kind of how I see it. Again, I think they'll be competitive. I think John Morant will have some amazing plays like always. He had 30 plus yesterday. But I like Klay Thompson, Draymond, Steph, and Jordan Poole.
Oh my goodness.
This guy, if he's playing like that, Gene, again, Golden State is one of the teams to beat overall. So that's why I like Golden State to get this win and go to the conference finals.
Yeah, it's almost like that phrase, "The rich keeps getting richer." That just
that's
seems
exactly
like
it.
that's what's going on in Golden State, man. They just, oh my goodness, they were down. Everybody in the NBA had their chances to get those crowns, and now Golden State is back. And hey, Dustin, real quick, before we do this last Boston and Milwaukee game here, I want to give a shout out to we got a compliment here from the Gipper, who's in the live streaming room listening to us there, and send us a message. So we appreciate that, the Gipper.
Absolutely.
And now, how about we move on to, and I think so we both like Golden State to move on, right?
We do.
Okay. And lastly here, because I know your time is limited today, so we'll get this one out the way. And by the way, game 2 of the Golden State Warriors Memphis Grizzlies will be tomorrow night on TNT. TNT has all of these games, thank goodness. So if you don't like Charles Barkley, then you might find a way to like him, because you're going to be stuck with him.
It's can't miss TV to me, Gene. I make sure even if I fall asleep that I'm recording Inside the NBA afterwards. I think most people will agree that when it comes to sports and post game shows or whatever it may be, that's one of the best shows in all of television. They tell it like it is. They have fun, and I make sure, like I said, in late games, if I'm falling asleep, I make sure to record it and watch it next morning, because I want to hear what these guys got to say.
It's great stuff. It is. And then tomorrow night also, game 2 of this series between Milwaukee and Boston is going to be on TNT. So let's talk about this series. Milwaukee goes into Boston, man. I tell you, and it was like, I think they controlled this game from gate to wire, if I'm not mistaken. I don't recall Boston ever taking the lead unless I fell asleep on something.
No. Milwaukee handled it from the jump, and that just shows. I mean, that they from the championship experience they gained last year to come in and be ready to go. Boston's coming off a sweep, feeling good, having home court, and Milwaukee, even without their second best player in Chris Middleton, came in and they dominated from the jump, where there was defense, offense. Giannis really didn't even shoot the ball that well, but he had a triple double, and it looked like, Gene, they looked like they had no answer for him, regardless if it was him scoring, him rebounding, making plays, defense, passing, whatever it may be. And so again, before this series, I would have probably taken Milwaukee, but I would have said in 7 games, because that's how much respect I have for Boston and their defense. We didn't talk a lot about them in that first round because we were talking about the problems of Brooklyn, but you got to give them a lot of credit. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, all those guys are just playing unbelievably. And so I definitely think they have a chance to win this series, but I always leaned on that championship experience of Milwaukee in 7 games. And that just showed me that I think it might even be 6 games the way Milwaukee was playing yesterday. I know Boston will probably bounce back and have some moments in this series, but you can tell when you finally get that championship off your back, Gene, and you have that experience, it doesn't matter if you have to go on the road or at home. You know what you got to do to take care of business. And it just looks like Giannis knows without Chris Middleton. He knows it with Chris Middleton, but without Chris Middleton, he knows he's got to be the guy to really take over. And I think he's got this mindset in his whole team. Bobby Portis playing well, Grayson Allen, Connaughton was hitting threes.
Oh, yes.
I like Milwaukee to get this series and move on to the conference finals once again.
Well, I'm going to have to agree with you on that. And if Coach Budenhauser is going to come up with a plan like he did to get, okay, hey Giannis, you're not going to get 50 tonight, but you're
Hmm.
going to be so much involved in this game. I need you getting boards. I need you, pushing out, those assists there. And what a well-crafted coach game by the Milwaukee Bucks. And and especially when you don't have a Middleton, you don't have that. So
Right.
Giannis out there dishing out passes, man. That was just excellent stuff to see. And I tell you what, yeah, Boston does have their hands full because no one has an answer for Giannis. You don't
No.
know when he's just going to snap and go off on you because he can. He can just get in that paint and just build another house, so to
And
speak.
and you tell me this, Gene, and I'll see if you agree with this statement.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, he's a two-time MVP and he won a championship last year, so he's not underrated. Everybody knows how great he is. He's one of the
Mhm.
top players in the game. But I don't. I think people always had a reservation of saying that he's the best player in the NBA because you talked about guys like Kevin Durant and LeBron James and Steph Curry and things like that. But I think it's safe to say now that as of right now, that Giannis is the best player in the NBA. Do you agree?
I would have to say that because I would have to say that. I agree because and last night showed it, when you're looking at this type of, how he can manage and change his game to fit the occasion. Because I
Hmm.
can't remember when he dished out so many assists in a game like that and just really managed the game well and not because normally we used to chastise him about forcing shots and trying to
Hmm.
go in too hard and picking up fouls. But man, this guy has matured. He knows what it. He's just a great person on and off the court,
Yes, yes.
and yeah, I would say right now.
And he
Now
doesn't. He's not resting on his laurels. He win a championship, you win some MVPs, and he's still working as hard as ever to be that best player that
and
he
he's
can be.
healthy. He's
Yes,
healthy and he's scary right now for the Boston Celtics. And I know they have done a wonderful job. And this Celtics team now, I'm not saying this series is over,
right.
uh, but I'm saying because I think we're going to see some highlights to come from Boston. Believe me, those guys, Jalen Brown and Tatum can go off at any time. And they got Big Williams back now. So I don't think Boston is going to lay down, but I do have them going I do have Milwaukee going to the next round. So, Dustin, let's just recap real quick before we end the show here. We both like Miami. We both
Hmm.
well, you picking the upset there in that Phoenix Dallas series.
I
You going
am.
with Dallas, and I'm going with Phoenix to get to the conference finals. And we both like Golden State, and we both like Milwaukee. Am I right?
That's right. So I mean, that's you're talking about some conference finals matchups. If we have it our way, we're talking Miami Heat, Milwaukee Bucks. Couple of
Hmm.
top seeds, and then you
Hmm.
got Golden State and either Dallas or Phoenix. Both of those conference finals are going to be explosive, and really. When you get down to four teams like that, I think any four of those teams could win the championship.
And
There's not one favorite above and the rest everybody else this year.
No, you're absolutely right. And then the other thing there, and that keep an eye on Miami and Milwaukee because normally those two teams have met early on in the playoffs,
Yes.
and now they are on a collision course to meet in the finals
And
for one of
Miami
them.
has had some good success against Milwaukee in
They
the past as
have,
well.
and they have reloaded with those extra players with getting PJ Tucker and that would be interesting because PJ Tucker is going to be the best scout on that Miami
That's right.
team if
That's
he has
right.
to face his old team, the Bucks. So anyway, hey folks, well we hope you enjoyed it. It's a short show today. We just wanted to get you caught up, get our picks in on this second round because we didn't want it to get out of hand. But enjoy the conference semifinals of the NBA playoffs. Me and Dustin, we would definitely be back for the conference finals and the finals, of course. And then you can always catch us on the iHeart radio platform when we're doing that show. So, Dustin, hey, gonna let you go, man. Handle your business. Do what you got to do today. And I'm gonna get on out of here too, folks. You're listening to the Mean Gene Show, streaming live here on Podbean. Dustin, we'll see you, man.
Thanks, Gene.
All righty, folks. We are out.